Sausage is supposed to be the one food where the math is simple. Pork, salt, spices, done. But the breakfast sausage aisle has quietly become one of the most misleading sections in the American grocery store. Over $9 billion a year spent on products where the name on the front and the ingredient list on the back tell you two completely different stories. Most people don't read ingredient lists. Studies show roughly 70% of shoppers buy based on the front label alone. They see all natural or farm fresh and assume they know what's inside. They don't. Some of these brands have been caught shipping metal, rubber, and plastic inside the casing. Others haven't had a single recall because their deception is quieter. It's printed right on the label, and it's legal. I went through the aisle and split it into two piles. 7 brands that belong in the first one, and 3 that actually hold up when you read the back. We're going through all 7, one by one, and I'm staying to the end for a 2-minute kitchen test that tells you more about your sausage than the front of the package ever will. This is not a claim that any of these products is unsafe to eat. It is a comparison of what the label promises, what the ingredients reveal, and whether the price fits what is actually inside. Number 7. Butterball turkey sausage. Butterball is under $3. And unlike most brands on this list, it is not trying to convince you it is anything more than what it is. No Italian heritage, no artisan messaging, no premium positioning. Butterball built an entire identity around one idea. Turkey is the healthy choice. Around 120 calories per serving. Less fat than pork. More protein than you'd expect. That positioning is genuinely better than several brands charging more for less. But the ingredient list contains BHA and BHT, synthetic preservatives. Here is what that tells you. The turkey base isn't naturally preservable on its own. Without chemical help, what you have would spoil before it reaches the shelf. Instead of sourcing better meat, this formula adds synthetic preservation to survive the supply chain. Butterball is the most transparent underperformer on this list. It is not deceiving you. It just isn't worth cooking with. But the next brand charges roughly the same price and somehow manages to hide more while using a vegetable as its alibi. Number 6. Applegate Naturals. Uncured is one of the more ambitious pieces of marketing language on this list. It implies craft, chemistry-free processing, and a recipe that came from somewhere real. Now the ingredient list. Pork, cultured celery powder, salt, spices. The cultured celery powder is the tell. It is in this formula because traditional curing uses sodium nitrite, a synthetic compound. Applegate's sausages are cured with celery powder, but celery powder is not a spice. It is a delivery system for the exact same nitrites, just sourced from a vegetable instead of a lab. The USDA confirmed meats with celery powder are identical to synthetic cured alternatives. The chemistry doesn't care where the nitrite comes from. It's the same preservation mechanism, same result. You are not eating uncured sausage. You are eating sausage that lists celery powder as an ingredient. Those are not the same thing. The distinction is exactly what the front label is designed to blur. Applegate is owned by Hormel, one of the largest meat processors in the world. The label says small farm. The parent says industrial. That gap between the story and the factory is Applegate's entire problem. But the next brand doesn't need a vegetable loophole. It has something far more powerful, a farmhouse image. Number 5. Hillshire Farm. The Hillshire label leans on a farmhouse. The rolling name, the rustic type. The packaging whispers authenticity. The implication, somewhere there is a farm where these sausages come from. Reality, Hillshire Farm is a Tyson Foods brand, manufactured at industrial scale in massive facilities. The farm imagery is doing marketing work the meat quality cannot do on its own. In September 2025, Hillshire recalled approximately 58 million pounds of corn dogs and sausage on a stick products over possible contamination with pieces of wood embedded in the batter. 5 consumers reported injuries. The contamination occurred when wooden sticks entered the production line before battering. This wasn't an isolated batch. The recall covered products packaged over a 6-month span, from March 17th through September 26th, 2025. The FSIS classified this as a Class 1 recall, meaning there's a reasonable probability that the use of the product will cause serious, adverse health consequences or death. When a brand needs to borrow authenticity instead of earning it, the ingredient panel usually tells you why. Hillshire relies on fillers, MSG, and processing shortcuts to create the texture and taste that quality meat provides naturally. The label is the convincing part. The contents were never expected to be. The front of the package sells you a farm. The back sells you a processing plant owned by the largest meat company in the country. When the farmhouse logo is owned by Tyson, the reputation management becomes the real product being sold. But the next brand's problem isn't imagery, it's what's actually inside the casing. Number 4. Jimmy Dean Links. Jimmy Dean sells speed. The name? The breakfast branding. The promise that a hot link is 90 seconds away. What the package doesn't mention is what has to happen inside the sausage for 90 seconds to be possible. In December 2018, Jimmy Dean recalled 29,028 pounds of sausage links over metal contamination. The recall was Class 1, the highest level of concern. But that's not the real story. Here's what's actually inside a Jimmy Dean link. Corn syrup, monosodium glutamate, MSG, BHA, BHT, sugar. Flavor enhancer, 2 synthetic preservatives. The corn syrup is cheaper than actual meat. It provides body and binding that quality pork provides naturally. Weaker meat needs the sugar to compensate. MSG, monosodium glutamate, is there because the protein content is lower than traditional sausage. When meat quality is weak, you need a flavor enhancer to make it taste substantial. BHA and BHT extend shelf life. When you've used shortcuts in sourcing, chemical preservation becomes necessary to survive supply chains and distribution. Every ingredient is a signal. Every signal points to the same conclusion. This formula is built around cost-cutting, not meat quality. Jimmy Dean is a Tyson brand. Tyson's portfolio pattern is worth noticing. When one company's quality control fails, it fails across multiple brands simultaneously. Number 3. Bob Evans. Bob Evans built an empire on the farm breakfast idea. The restaurant chain became an American institution. The frozen sausage line extended that brand promise to grocery stores. The imagery is Americana. The name suggests a person who raised pigs and cooked them honestly. In October 2022, Bob Evans recalled 7,560 pounds of sausage because consumers found thin blue pieces of rubber in the meat. 5 separate consumers reported findings across multiple production dates. This wasn't one bad hour. It was a systemic problem. But that's actually less important than what the ingredient list reveals. Bob Evans, the Farm Fresh brand, is now owned by Post Holdings, a packaged food conglomerate based in St. Louis. The farm imagery is a costume. When you see mechanically separated meat in the ingredient list, you're seeing meat that has been processed so aggressively that the only way to use it is to bind it back together with additives and starches. Mechanically separated meat is what happens when a company chooses to process meat to death rather than source better meat. The machinery separates meat from bone under high pressure. What's left has to be reconstructed with binders and preservatives to resemble food again. Instead of sourcing better pork, this formula uses industrial processing to create something that can be sold as sausage. The farm story is powerful. The contents were never meant to live up to it. Number 2, Johnsonville. Johnsonville is the market leader, the brand most people picture when they hear the word sausage. If you surveyed Americans and asked them to name a sausage brand, Johnsonville would rank at the top. And Johnsonville will tell you, proudly, that their sausage is made with premium cuts of pork, no mechanically separated meat. That part, to their credit, is on the label. But premium cuts of pork don't explain everything else in the casing. The Environmental Working Group flags Johnsonville breakfast sausage for 2 of its top food additives of concern, BHA and propyl gallate. Propyl gallate is a synthetic antioxidant used to prevent rancidity, but it's been flagged by researchers as a potential endocrine disruptor. BHA, the same preservative from earlier on this list, is listed by California's Proposition 65 as a chemical known to cause cancer in animals. So the front of the package says premium. The back lists flavor enhancers and preservatives of concern. The pork might be premium. The formula is not. When production quality fails, it fails across all price points. Johnsonville recalls the same foreign material problems as discount labels, just in smaller print. But the number one spot on this list is reserved for the brand where the corporation publicly admitted the problem and then didn't finish fixing it. Number 1. Jimmy Dean Roll. Jimmy Dean Roll is the single most purchased sausage in America. That fact tells you considerably more about how grocery shopping works than it tells you about how this product actually tastes. You do not choose Jimmy Dean Roll. You reach for it the same way you reach for any object that has occupied the same space in your peripheral vision for your entire adult life. That kind of shelf presence does not happen because a product is exceptional. It happens because a product becomes the default. In that time, Jimmy Dean has perfected one specific thing, tasting inoffensive enough that you never feel strongly enough to stop buying it. That is not a compliment. That is a calculated business outcome. The ingredient list contains BHA and BHT. The National Toxicology Program lists BHA as reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen. It's been on California's Proposition 65 list since 1990, and the European Union banned it in 2011. But in the United States, it remains legal and widely used. Here is where it gets worse. In September 2025, Tyson Foods, which owns Jimmy Dean, publicly announced it would remove BHA, BHT, and other additives by the end of 2025. That was the promise. Walk the aisle today and read the back of the roll. The ingredient list hasn't changed. The preservatives are still there. The commitment was made. The product wasn't reformulated. This is what corporate accountability looks like when there's no enforcement mechanism. Tyson made a public statement, triggered positive press, satisfied investors, then did nothing. The shelf stayed the same. The label is the promise. The ingredients are the truth. And when a corporation announces a fix and the shelf doesn't move, you are not buying food. You're buying the story built to replace it. Quick stat before we continue. 7 brands down. The pattern is consistent. All 7 add preservatives or flavor enhancers. 5 add MSG. 6 use processed meat rather than quality pork cuts. 5 use corn syrup or added sugar. The common thread is not that any single brand is dangerous. It is that the front label works hard to keep you from seeing what the ingredient panel reveals. A weak meat base with industrial patchwork on top. If this investigation is useful, subscribe to Truth Bites and drop a comment with the sausage brand currently in your fridge. I want to know which one just moved to your avoid list. Now, 3 brands that made fundamentally different decisions. Same cost pressures, same shelf competition, better meat instead of more additives. Number 3, Pederson's Natural Farms. Pederson's is the clean label built for people who shop at Whole Foods and Sprouts. Texas-based, humanely raised, no antibiotics ever, and their breakfast sausage is certified Whole 30, which is a real bar, not a marketing word. No preservatives, no artificial ingredients, no added nitrates or nitrites, no MSG. The ingredient list reads pork seasoning. 2 lines, and the second one is a spice blend, not a chemistry set. When a brand survives through repeat purchase, not through marketing, it survives by making different choices inside the factory. Pederson's chose better pork. That choice made the additive list unnecessary. One honest caveat. On their uncured smoked products, they use cultured celery, which is the exact same workaround this video just warned you about on Applegate. Read the back of every package. The breakfast link is the clean one, but Jones Dairy Farm made a different choice entirely. Number 2, Jones Dairy Farm. Jones is the benchmark. Clean and easy to find at Walmart and Target, not just the specialty aisle. Family owned since 1889. 6 generations choosing the hard way over the easy way. The breakfast sausage is pork, salt, and spices. That's it. No preservatives, no MSG, no fillers. When a brand survives 4 generations selling the same thing, it survives on repeat purchase, not on a first-time shopper who cannot read a label. That forces different decisions inside the factory. Nearly 135 years. Same family, same philosophy. The ingredient panel tells you everything the age of the company already proved. Here's what separates Jones from the others. Most brands add chemical preservatives so they can survive the supply chain on a shelf at room temperature. Jones freezes their sausage specifically so they don't have to add a preservative. That's not a minor detail. That's a fundamental choice about what ingredient quality allows you to skip. When the base meat is good, the additive list becomes optional. Jones proved that. But there's one brand that takes it even further. Number 1, Mulay's. Here's what sets Mulay's apart from everything else on this list. It's not even trying to be convenient. And that's exactly why it takes the top spot. Heritage breed pork, no antibiotics ever, and a back label that's the shortest here, just meat and spices. They were the first meat company certified free from the big 9 allergens: milk, eggs, fish, shellfish, tree nuts, peanuts, wheat, soy, sesame, all verified absent. Nothing hidden to trigger anyone. And it's still a family business. Founded by Mike and Mary Mulay. The name isn't a costume. The people whose name is on the package are running the recipe. Open the package and the meat has character, texture, actual variation in color and size. The kind that happens when you don't overprocess the base ingredient, and the kind industrial brands engineer out in favor of shelf stability and batch-to-batch sameness. When the base ingredient is that good, the whole additive list becomes unnecessary. Mulay's proves that. The ingredient panel has nothing on it that the company would rather you not look at. Mulay's is number 1 not because it does everything for you. It's number 1 because it hands you the best possible starting material and then just gets out of your way. And if you want to prove it yourself, here's the 2-minute test that shows exactly what I mean. Cook one link of a conventional sausage and one of Mulay's side by side. A heavily processed link releases pinkish, murky liquid. That color isn't coming from meat. It's coming from water, starch, and additives. A clean sausage releases clear fat and juice. Notice the smell. The processed sausage smells like seasoning and sweetness because MSG and corn syrup are doing the heavy lifting. The clean one smells like meat. Watch the casing. Natural pork casing splits and browns as meat inside expands. Processed casing holds its shape, stays pale. Then taste them plain. The clean one tastes like pork. The processed one tastes engineered, because it is. The test doesn't replace the label, it confirms it. Your tongue already knows the difference. The ingredient list explains why. At the end of the day, the brands that actually deserve your money have nothing on that ingredient list they'd rather you not look at. Once you understand what the label's really telling you, that sausage aisle never looks quite the same again. Here are 4 rules to take with you into that aisle. Rule 1, the front of the package is marketing. The back is the document. When Butterball says all natural, that's the front. When you flip it and see BHA and BHT, that's the truth. Rule 2, uncured with celery powder is still cured. The nitrite is still there. Applegate proves this. The chemistry doesn't care where the nitrite comes from. If it says uncured, read the back the same way you'd read a conventional sausage. Rule 3, natural, farm fresh, and heritage are not ingredient lists. Hillshire's label whispers farmhouse, but it's owned by Tyson. If a word is doing the marketing work instead of real ingredients, put it back on the shelf. Rule 4, when MSG, corn syrup, and synthetic preservatives all appear in the ingredient list, the pork base wasn't strong enough. Every ingredient is a signal. Read the signals. Subscribe to Truth Bites and hit the bell. Comment with the brand in your fridge right now. Which one moved to your avoid list? Your feedback drives what we investigate next. Remember the one thing this whole video came down to. The front of the package is a story someone wrote to sell you. The back is the document. You already know how to read it. You just never thought to turn the package over. Next up, we're heading into the bacon aisle. That investigation rewires how you shop for breakfast entirely.